Hi, I'm Mike, and I like to make Salesforce videos. In this video, we're going to be talking about exactly what it is that got me pointed in the direction of Salesforce, and what exactly was it that kept me there once I got into it. You know, I got into this whole YouTube thing thinking I was just going to charge right ahead and make videos every week, and it just didn't happen. And you know, a lot of why that didn't happen is because of it's this thing that I do. It's kind of like a fear of failure. You know, I'll look at something that I'm not really dependent on to make a living, and it sounds really great, and then I'll get into it, and then for whatever reason I'll get tripped up, something will throw me off, and then that fear of failure kicks in, and then I just sort of let it go. It kind of dissolves, and I really hate that, and I'm hoping I can undo that. But one of the things that I'm hoping will inspire me is just my own history in Salesforce. You know, I got into Salesforce when I was a full-time software engineer working exclusively in Java and a variety of other platforms, and I started looking at Salesforce and got into it and just didn't look back. I charged ahead. Even though it wasn't something that I was making a living on right then and there was just something different about it that I really glommed onto, and it just really kept me going. So I'm really hoping that that story is going to inspire me to just kind of revive this channel. So there's two things that I want to talk about today. One of them is, what is it exactly that pointed me in the direction of Salesforce? And then once I was there, what was it that kept me there for the long term and made me say for sure that this is what I wanted to do for my career? You know, I think it started for me in about 2017 when I was working for a large staffing company, and I had a colleague there that had been working there for a number of years, almost as long as I had been working there, and he had left. But for a number of logistical reasons, he came back. And he sat down, he was having a conversation with me, and he was sharing with me one of the things that they were using in their technology stack, which he found really compelling, and that was Salesforce. And he described the ease at which they would put together these prototypes, how they would create a new object in their domain, and then before they knew it, they had page layouts that were functional, and they could make changes and add fields, and it didn't require deployments and approvals and all kinds of things. And I was really fascinated about what he was talking to me about. He had shared an example of something that was put together in Salesforce that took a matter of minutes, that ordinarily would take several days for me to put together in some of the platforms that we were working on at the time. Seriously, I spun around in my desk after that conversation and I dug right into Salesforce. Hit Google, found Trailhead instantly, signed up, and I jumped right in. I want to say I probably spent the good majority of the balance of that day just doing the deep dive right into Salesforce and getting super involved in Trailhead. And you know, it wouldn't be long before I was actually doing the things that he was describing to me. So I gotta say, thank you, Kevin. I just don't think I would have looked at Salesforce had it not been for that conversation. It got me really excited. I became dedicated to Trailhead. I focused on that quite extensively, mostly in my off hours, but I spent a lot of time, so like after hours, you know, Monday through Friday, but I spent a lot of time on the weekends as well. I dedicated my early Saturday mornings, like super early, like 5:30 in the morning, I'd go to Starbucks, so I didn't have any distractions, and I would just dig right in and focus. I started studying for my certifications, and before long I had my admin cert and I had my app builder cert. I want to say it was maybe about a month apart. For those two certs. I mean, I was just charging ahead at full speed. I want to say that the turning point, what really got me wanting to do it full time, was when it came time for me to register for a conference. Ordinarily, year after year, I would go to Oracle's Java 1 conference, and they've changed the name a variety of times over the years. I don't even know what they're calling it now these days, but Java 1 was what they were calling it back then. And in anticipation of just being able to register for that, you know, I hadn't gotten my confirmation yet that I was approved to register, so I just registered myself. I used my own cash with the expectation that I would get reimbursed by my employer, and then found out that, in fact, that year, there were no approvals for any conferences. There wasn't going to be anything like that for anybody in our department, and I was really let down. But I had already registered. So I went to Oracle, got a refund, and then I took that money and I put it right down on Dreamforce. I want to say that that's really where things changed for me. I was definitely very dedicated to Salesforce because of everything that I was learning in Trailhead. It was very compelling. Just being able to put together prototypes and to see things come to fruition a lot faster, and without having to worry about all of the things that you usually would need to worry about in traditional software development for the enterprise. But ultimately, it was going to Dreamforce that really convinced me that this is where I wanted to be. You know, I had been going to the Java 1 conference for a number of years, and I just loved it. I loved going out there and being with like-minded engineers, sitting down and enjoying these sessions, learning. I mean, I always came back with something new, and I always came back with something that I could apply to the work that I was doing. So it made these conferences very valuable and something that I really appreciated. The fact that I wasn't approved to go that year was a real disappointment, personally and professionally, and I was really trying to turn, lemons into lemonade by taking that and putting it on Dreamforce. But I really had no idea what to expect. And then I got there and I was completely blown away. You know, if you've never been to Dreamforce before, I don't know if I can adequately describe it. It is big. There's something really sort of unique about the vibe there. It's not like other conferences. I remember really just like walking into the auditorium for the first time in the Moscone Center on the bottom floor where they have the forest, right? It's dimly lit, but it's got this feel to it, like you're really walking through a forest. There's trees everywhere. It's just there's something unique and different about it that I really, really liked. The vibe was different too. Everyone there was really into being there. They were all really just, I don't know, happy. And I really liked going to the keynotes. The keynotes were just incredible. Super, super energy, just energized. And then the Ohana feel, the whole theme was just, it was kind of intoxicating. I love Hawaii. So the whole Ohana thing that Salesforce, really sort of has adopted as part of their culture, it was sort of, addicting to me. I don't know how else to put it. I really liked being around people who were just so into their jobs. It was fun. And there was something about the vibe there and people wanting to participate and volunteer. That was the other thing. There was this whole setup where you could go and you could pack backpacks full of school supplies for needy kids. And even though it was this sort of small part of the process there, I really liked that. It was different and unique, and it just kind of felt different and special. I really got the sense while I was at Dreamforce that the people that work in Salesforce for a living are people who are not only happy doing what they do, but they're open-minded and they're willing to teach others. And I love that. I love opportunities to learn. I especially love opportunities to learn from others. And there were so many different people with so many different levels of skill and experience that I felt like I could learn from pretty much everybody who was there. It really didn't matter if I had more experience professionally. It didn't matter if somebody was older or younger. There was just so many opportunities to learn. And I just really felt like that was an ecosystem that I wanted to be a part of. So it was while I was at Dreamforce that I decided this is it. This is what I'm going to do for a living. It was probably the best decision that I've ever made. Those expectations were completely correct. I started working professionally in Salesforce, and I met a variety of people who were just loaded with experience. People older than me, people younger than me, they were just loaded with experience and all too willing to share it. It was awesome. I've worked at a couple of places now since I got into Salesforce full-time professionally, and the vibe is the same at all of these places. It's always full of people who are knowledgeable and willing to teach. And I absolutely love that. And the place where I work right now, there's people who have a lot of Salesforce experience. There's people who have very little Salesforce experience, but everybody has this sort of collective base of knowledge that we can all draw from. We've got young people who have recently graduated. We've got other people who have been, in the business for decades, and they all bring so much knowledge to the table, all of which they're openly willing to share, and it's been hugely, hugely beneficial. So if I have to sum up, and I don't want to oversimplify, and I definitely don't want it to be too cheesy, but it is kind of true. If I have to say, what is it that got me wanting to do Salesforce full time? I would say it's not only that I just love Salesforce and how it works, but I definitely kind of get the feel that Salesforce kind of loves me too. As cheesy as that is, I really feel like when I got into Salesforce and expressed an interest, I was embraced and I was welcomed with love. And I absolutely love that. So that's what's inspired me to start talking into my camera again. And what I'm hoping is that over the course of the next couple of weeks, I can talk about other things that are specific to my history and how that might also be relevant to you. For example, if you are a software engineer outside of the Salesforce ecosystem, what might inspire you to consider abandoning some of the tools that you know so well and instead going into something new like Salesforce development? I want to talk about that. Or perhaps you have a job that you know and you love. I certainly did. What would inspire you to leave that job and to go into Salesforce instead? Let's talk about that too. And of course, if you're going to get into Salesforce, specifically if you're going to be a developer, what tools and programs are out there that are going to really help you level up and get the skill that you need to get the job that you want. We'll talk about that on this channel as well. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next video.